is already waiting. He's lying in wait in the chat.
All right, we are live and
Psycho.
going. We have some people in the chat. That's great news. So welcome everybody to another exciting episode of Sigmar and Son. I'm Greg. That's Mark. Mark. Wait.
Hi. Sorry, I was getting the chat open for us.
Okay, and we have a special guest with us today, and that is Joe, or a YouTube caster called Hey Whoa Twitch, right, Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't you give us a little bit about your channel and what you do there besides make fun of GW every once in a while?
Well, I started playing Age of Sigmar a year ago, and I went to Adepticon, like probably 3 or 4 months after I started. It was fun, and I stream anyway, so I'm like, well, I'll do a tournament report for this new game I'm playing, and people liked it, and like lots of people watched it, and so I'm like, well, I guess I'm doing AOS content now. And so far it's been pretty good. It's from the perspective of like a very competitive Magic the Gathering player, however, is new to all the wargame stuff. So like new player in AOS, but not new player for like games or competitions. And so I think that was the hook, or the reason you should care, I suppose, of like clicking on my channel. I do weekly stuff except for the past month because I moved and work has been busy.
I know the feeling.
Right. So we kind of to go in with that, I've been playing games forever, but then the Age of Sigmar, I was playing Warhammer 8th edition, but really never did much in the tournament scene, just sort of played locally at my local GW shop. And so your Adepticon that you went to was the first one that we went to.
Oh.
So we're kind of learning, I don't know, all the lingo and the stuff as we go too. And so that's one of the reasons I had really liked your show as well, because it hit that spot, I think. And a lot of people are in that point of just trying to figure out, you know, how to play maybe competitively. But
yeah, the niche I sought to fill was almost all the introductory, like introducing you to the game stuff that GW and most content creators put out seems to be aimed at like 14-year-olds, like really, really dumbed down, like the most childish, like
this is how
not in a bad way, because that's the market you want to capture, really. But like most of the new player stuff is for like, you know, haven't played a game before kind of level stuff. And so I'm like, well, how about an introductory to the game of people who like know what's going on, at least in card games or maybe other war games or something. That's
cool. So I guess we'll go ahead and start with some of our news that we want to try and go through today for the show. We're going to go through some news, the sneak peeks, and then we're going to go through a little bit of tournament observations and comments, I guess, on some of the tournaments that we've been to recently. Mark and I just recently did Siege World. Joe did Gen Con. And there's been other reports, and we're just kind of making some comments about some of that. Joe, who went to a narrative event, so he's going to tell us a little bit about what happens when a tournament player goes to a narrative event. That'll be interesting. And finally,
he ruins everything. That's what happens.
he ruins everything. And finally, we can't have Joe on a Magic quote unquote pro without talking about Age of Sigmar Champions, which is the new trading card game, and we're pretty excited about that. So hopefully we won't run out of time. Try and keep this at an hour and a half at the most.
Okay.
I'll pass out before then, guys. I promise you.
Yeah, Mark was up early this morning and working all day, and so if he's quiet or salty, he had a patient being a nurse.
Okay, we don't need to talk about that.
Not a great patient. We'll just put it that way. So, yeah. So basically, news. I guess the big news coming out prior to Nova was the Beasts of Chaos Battle Tome, and it details the Bray herds. And I think this is the thing that I was most excited about. It says it compiles many of the bestial creatures of chaos into a single tome including Bulgors, Dragon Ogres, Zangor, and more. And so,
big beasts.
right, I have some Dragon Ogres, and I've never really been able to play them because
They suck.
what are you gonna do? Build a army of 1 Dragon Shoggoth and 20 Dragon Ogres or something? I mean, there's nothing to go with it. So, and then the Zangor, that I thought was kind of interesting. What did you think there, Joe? That is, I mean, do you think? I mean, they're pulling in. I guess I always thought those were Zinchi, but I mean, it would be interesting if they actually kind of go with.
Well, I think it's like the Zangor models. But go on, Joe. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I mean, I'm the one who's relatively new to the game, but for the research that I did, gore biologically is a type, right? And so there's a bunch of species of it. So there's Zangor, that's Zinch, and there's Pestigore, it's pestilence, so that's Nurgle. I don't know if there's Slanesh gores or Corn gores. Are there?
I have no idea.
I just noticed they had Bestigores, which were beast gores, which I kind of thought was kind of the corn.
I think I like what I was gonna say was I think that it's not necessarily Zangors. I think it's more like just using the Zangor models, but you'll probably paint them up more like Brayherdy-ish.
Yeah, I mean, if you got a kit, you
Flesh tones and stuff.
Things out of it, right? So,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, they look cool. They're great for conversions, as as we've seen with the Roman gladiators.
Yes.
And so, yeah, and it looked like some of the beasts, I guess, the big monsters of the chaos, are going to perhaps be put in this as well.
Yeah, I got the Warhammer community picture, the one that shows like the whole army. If you open it up and look in the top left corner, this Jabber Scythe, partially hidden by mist in the background. It's like, okay.
I want a cockatrice to be good, man. That's a sweet model.
Yeah, well, it's not good, but
I know, that's why I said I want it to be good.
Yeah.
I know it's not good.
I'm going to go ahead and share my screen there. Warhammer community blinking.
I reluctantly bought it at Gen Con last year.
Oh, the
cockatrice? I don't know what it does. I was just, man, it's sweet and it's cheap right now, so I'm going to buy it.
Yeah, you're right. Here, Joe, you can see there's kind of a Jabber Scythe right there.
Yep.
Seizure warning for the blinking for our viewers.
Sorry. And then, yeah, they got these guys here, these Chaos Hounds. That'll be interesting, too, to see how they fit in.
Yeah, I was a little sad to see that. It was one of them. It was one of the main plastic kits. I think they should retire forever because they're so bad looking. But
that was the first plastic kit I ever did.
Stuff out of it.
So, yeah, just kind of they basically. I was going to hop through some of the. I'll go ahead and screen share again and hop through some of the stuff that they shared. So they basically, not a lot came out with this this suggestion. Or this news release. So they have this herd stone, which I guess is going to be a terrain piece for the Beastmen that they're coming out with. And
it looks sweet.
It does look sweet.
It looks super sweet. I'm pleased with it.
You could get a rock to do the same thing.
I think this is a cool thing to do. I mean, basically they were like, we want to continue supporting this army, but we don't have any we don't have we don't have any new models for it now, but we want to continue supporting it. So we're going to get our rules team, and we're going to basically write a bunch of rules for it, and we can continue supporting it that way, and then we can bring new models later on the line. It's like basically just like, hey, we want to continue doing this.
I really like that. I hope that they do that for other things.
I hope they do it for Skaven.
Yeah, exactly. I thought Skaven would be the first ones to get
or
that.
I Will Riot.
Yeah. It's a very unique Games Workshop IP, the Skaven. And I was surprised when they got Pestilence and Scryer came out, but Scryer doesn't have a book, and everything else is just sort of, I don't know, shattered. Yeah. There's a ton of Skaven models. They're just separated all over the place, which is a shame.
So,
you have the birds up now with the titanic fractures in them.
Yeah. So this is the endless spell, and wow, there's some serious lack of mold line cleanup in these. So like that was maybe a rush job.
Whoever they told to do this wasn't one of their painters. It was an intern, and he probably had 18 minutes to do it.
Perhaps.
I guess.
So this, I'm thinking this is probably going to be some endless spell. This will probably, I'm guessing this is going to be like some crows or attack type spell. I don't know what you guys.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Well, crows poke out people's eyes, so I imagine it's some sort of debuff. That's my guess. That's the hot take. It's a debuff. It pokes out your eyes.
Okay, I can see something like that. -1 to hit. Something.
Yeah, we need more of that in the game.
Yeah, stack it all.
That's sarcasm for the viewers at home.
The next thing is this horn looking thing. So we have horny beastmen.
Awesome. It's the horn from Game of Thrones, right? For people who have gotten that far in the books.
Yeah, not me.
All right, no spoilers.
All right, so I'm thinking that this is going to be some sort of,
it's a buff.
Bravery buff.
Not a debuff, it's a buff.
It's a buff. Maybe a bravery buff or something. We don't know.
And then the bull.
Yeah, and then, the bull.
Oh, I can't wait. This thing looks so huge and awesome.
It's probably as big as the gnashing.
Yeah, just like the gnashing jaws. It's gigantic and awesome looking. So it's only going to do a D3 mortal wounds and be a huge disappointment.
You're so true. Yeah.
Boy, does it look sweet though.
So anyway, yeah, that's basically the news from the Beastmen from the wild, and that's all we really kind of know at this point. So I think in summary, I really like this idea though. I mean, you don't have to necessarily have models to come out with rules or books to bring or rework things that aren't working. And obviously Beastmen weren't working. In our opinion, Skaven, the way it is, isn't working. You could unify a lot of these small armies, bring them better cohesion and keywords.
Yeah, you also wouldn't have a disgusting amount of like random ass factions underneath the alliances.
Yeah, factions with one guy that's only a hero, and that's it.
Yeah, just like makes me want to hurt myself.
Yeah, Joe, you were saying
now it's a second. We've had a second edition, so we've gone through an entire first edition, right, where they have whole ranges that aren't even real, that aren't real anythings.
Right, and the one real range they got rid of.
Yeah, and some of them got some stuff in the GHB, but most of those are pretty bad, or just so like phoned in. Or it's like, here you go, Scryer, have some bravery buffs for your units over 20. Oh, wait. It's an elite Skaven army that doesn't even use that. So it's goofy. I hope they come out with Skaven book, a Free People's book, just like even some of the elves or wanderers or something.
Yeah, they need it too. Because some of the older elves is just like, they're just embarrassingly bad.
Yeah, but they don't have to be. I mean,
well, that's what I'm saying. Like, they just...
Yeah, the models
there's no battle tones.
They still sell all of them, so you might as well make it a cohesive army at least.
Right.
The models are actually pretty nice.
Yeah.
For the elves stuff. I mean, I got, like I said, I started at 8th edition. Isle of Blood, basically, it was high elves versus Skaven. And those high elf models still stand up today. That they had, they're really nice.
Yeah, all the Scryer stuff is amazing. I'd put a lot of the Scryer stuff against new kits. It holds up that well.
So, right. So we had Nova this weekend going on now, I guess, probably. And they had a sneak peek at that, talking about all the Games Workshop stuff that was coming out soon. The lack of AOS was a little
was saddening.
Saddening, yeah. But they basically previewed a video called Realm of Chaos, Wrath and Rapture, which was a video, and it looks like it's Slaanesh versus maybe.
Oh, it is. It's not. It looks like it is.
I mean, it's Slaanesh versus Khorne, with the battle taking place in the Realm of Chaos.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. First of all, it's the first box. It's the first like versus box that Age of Sigmar has ever put out that doesn't include Stormcast.
even a better.
And so here we go. Like, you were just talking about how much you liked Isle of Blood, you know? Elves versus Skaven. Like, I welcome more weird faction versus other weird faction that has nothing to do with the main characters.
Well, it's game agnostic too, so it's for 40K and
I suppose it would
AOS.
be, right? Because it's demons. Yeah, that makes sense.
Right, that's the thing
That's a great trick. Yeah,
they're talking about this. You know, marketing wise, I guess this comes out Christmas time. You know, the end of November.
Because that's why it's in the realm of chaos. It's not in the mortal realms, and it's not in 40K. It's its own realm.
But who knows how they're going to work the story of Slaanesh or Slaanesh's return, if that's going to work in there or what. But
she's not missing in 40K, is she? I don't know anything about the 40K.
No, not miss. I don't know much about 40K, but not missing there. But so that's why I'm saying I don't know if the box is going to have that. Maybe everybody assumes Slaanesh is returning, and maybe it's not.
How cruel would that be? People talk about punishment as a shoe-in for like a year, and they're just like, nah, still no.
Still no. Yeah. So the other thing that was somewhat Age of Sigmar-ish was the what was the news from the
Warhammer Underworlds.
Underworlds, right? So basically they're coming out with a second Warhammer Underworlds called the Night Vault, which I guess is like the next level down in the dungeon or something. Who knows? But they say 8 new war bands, hundreds of new cards, and a new game mechanic.
All right, I'm calling out the war bands right now. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Stormcast.
Predictions.
Stormcast. Dark Oath.
They already showed that.
Okay, well, we got 2 Stormcasts, a Night Haunt, a Dark Oath, a whatever the hell, what's it called?
Stormcast.
No, the other one.
The Evocators.
That doesn't matter. Anyways, Seraphon, Sylvaneth, shit. Give me an 8th one, someone.
Eastclaw Raiders.
Sure.
I haven't forgotten about us. It's one Mournfang. That's your whole unit.
Right. So I'm sharing the pictures here they had of the so they basically did, of course, do the Sacrosanct Chamber of Stormcast Eternals and the Night Haunts, which played the game a little.
Archmage Einstein looks great. Big fan.
What's that?
Archmage Einstein looks great. Big fan. The dude in the middle there, the Evocator.
This guy. Okay, yeah. Yeah, him. He looks pretty cool. This is interesting. The guy's got like no head, and he's carrying it, and then.
Yeah.
But I think there's what, 7 here. I don't think there's been 4.
What do you mean? Death has 7.
What?
Death has 7.
The sepulchral
stalkers have 7.
Right.
You look dumb.
I look dumb. Well, I excel at that. And basically they're going to bring magic into this game too. If I can.
So a new dice or new die with magic.
So there's going to be a new die here type, which is going to be this one here, which is a magic die.
Mm-hmm.
And so it looks like you're going to have spells or something you can cast on your cards, and you're going to have to roll this dice to get the effects.
You guys play Shadespire? Oh, I can't call it Shadespire, actually. People thought that was what it was called. That's not.
Right.
Warhammer
Underworlds, actually.
Shadespire is that one.
Yeah, that was episode 1.
Night Vault, episode 2.
Right. Interesting, because I remember my our Games Workshop person, every time we'd call it Shadespire, he would be like, it's Warhammer Underworlds.
He knew the future.
Probably.
He probably knew something.
So moving on, we got.
Well, do you play, Joe?
No. I like the figures a great deal because their poses are wonderful, great, expressive,
and their bases.
Interesting. Their bases are cool, but I usually shorten those off. I use them for AOS. I mean, if you have 40 skeletons, the first 5 might as well look distinct, you know?
That's true.
And so there you go. The rules they give you for AOS for all of the squads, I think, are garbage. I only know about the Ironjaw's Khorne and Undead ones and Fire Slayers, which all rules are no good for the game.
Yeah, we did an episode where we went through them. Some of them
they're not bad, but they're not
The problem
point
is,
of fishing at anything. You know what I mean? There's just better units for the points.
Yeah.
Like,
and they don't count as battle lines, so that's sad because they're like 60 points. Although for coin, it's pretty good. 60 points for a blood tithe. I might take it.
It's true.
right. That's interesting.
Well, I prefer that. It would be a little unfortunate if, like, a $35 box of 3 dudes for some other game is like the best thing, and you need like 6 of them. That I much prefer them being bad than like needing them because they're so good. So
yeah, that's true.
So basically, what was this? What did you call this, Marks?
Golbat.
Golbat.
It's Golbat.
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 Pokemon.
Pokemon.
Oh, I don't know the Pokemon.
Come on, how do you not know Pokemon?
I was too old for it when it came out.
Too old?
It never hooked me. Yeah.
How old are you?
34.
Oh shit, I thought you were way younger.
Golly.
I'll take that. I'll take that compliment where I can get it.
I thought you were like 26.
And we've gone off.
If I can just get everyone to agree to that, then I will be 26 and we'll be good.
Anyways.
Stop sharing. Yeah. So, hey, there was one more thing that came out on.
Wait. Unpopular opinion. That miniature looks stupid. I'm sorry.
That's your opinion or everybody else's saying?
Unpopular opinion from what I've seen on everyone else thinks it looks cool.
About Squigs. I mean, does this mean they're going to bring Squigs into Age of Sigmar as part of Orcs?
They're already in there.
Yeah,
they got a bunch of Squigs. They're just all in grots and stuff. That's all. And in Monsters of Monstrous Arcanum. There's some.
There's the
in there. Yeah. Bring new plastic models, Squig models. Like that.
Oh, bring the picture back up if you still got it. Speaking of unpopular opinion, Mark thinks it looks dumb. I agree. I mean, obviously they're going for a cartoony look because that's what grots and Squigs are supposed to be. They're supposed to be humorous. But I do think it looks dumb. It looks like a fishing lure, to be honest.
Yeah. So
here's the part I like about it. Notice how it's flying, but instead of having a clear plastic twig holding it up, they actually put it kind of on some mushroomy stuff like for the base. And I really appreciate this. The fewer clear plastic sticks we have holding up flying models, the better in this game. So I think they universally look terrible. And they make your models look like the toys that they technically are, but like you're painting them so that they don't look like toys, right? And like the wiggly flight stands that are clear just automatically make them look bad. So I appreciate this for at least that reason.
I can't get over how dumb it looks. I'm sorry.
It does look dumb. but so do every non-Iron Jaw orc, and that's just my opinion as well. You know, so they're amazing.
They're just small.
Says the chat. Okay. I will.
So I somehow done something where I can't get back to where.
I think you're good.
Am I bouncing up is the main thing?
Yeah,
you're good.
Okay. The AOS coach in chat tells me to stick to Beast Claw and that grots are amazing.
That will be interesting.
I would like to let him know that I own 40 Gutbuster grots that I got to ally into Beast Claw to try to make them good, although they weren't. So I'm willing to branch out into stuff I think looks absolutely stupid to try not to lose. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough.
What's the you have Stormcaster, right? So you have some Stormcaster, right?
For painting exercises, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay.
So they basically did announce, I guess they're going to try and I guess revitalize Hobbit. There's some pretty cool models there, but I don't know. The thing I'm most excited about is this, and I'm going to screen share it. I don't know what you think of this stuff, Joe, but
keep it on yourself. Like
what?
Yeah, keep it to yourself. On yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, keep it on yourself.
Present.
Yes.
Oh, these. Okay. I thought we were going to talk about The Hobbit, and I'd be like, well, I have a negative amount of interest in
right
tabletop. Speed Freaks. I think this is great marketing. So you have all these cool models, right? And you might as well make another game featuring them.
Right. I mean, these are just
Nothing
amazing
better.
models.
You know, it's funny. I'm always like, I try and always figure out like a game. I always am like brainstorming games I would want to make in my head. And have you ever played Twisted Metal, Joe? Has
Oh, yeah.
anyone in the chat played?
Classic PS1 title.
This is like Twisted Metal Warhammer 40K edition to me, and I am so pumped.
Right.
That's a good. I mean, if you're going to sell it, Twisted Metal with orcs, I'm in.
That was my game on the PS1.
So I played actually Twisted Metal with goblins last night. There is a Games Workshop game that they came out with, which I guess is like a Barnes and Noble type game called Gretchen. Is it Gretchen? Anyway, yeah, it's like goblins with little vehicles, and they're little like paper vehicles, and that's not going to help with me showing pictures of myself. They're like little cardboard vehicles that make so like little cardboard vehicles about yay big, and you play cards down in front of you to make the environment that they're driving in. And it's really more it's a fast 15-20 minute game maybe. So
yeah, these things, they look awesome. Big fan. I mean, anything close to Mad Max I'm down with.
Yes.
And if it's orcs, so be it. They're cool.
There's one car that's like the goblin is like on the front like this, like with the face mask, looks exactly like the scene from Mad Max.
Nice. I'll be witnessing him if I play this game.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we're gonna.
Dad's never seen Mad Max.
Definitely be into this. So
Dad has never seen Mad Max.
Have you seen Mad Max, Dad?
Some of it.
It's fine Australian cinema. It's
well, there's Mad Max and Under Thunderdome, right?
Yeah. There were several sequels. Some of them were really bad. Just watch Fury Road and you're good.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, basically.
So, trying to keep us a little on track.
Sorry.
That's okay.
We're on track. This is news.
This is all news.
Yeah.
Mad Max is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I was guess upcoming events. There's two I know of that are kind of around us. October 6th and 7th is ClawCon, and that's in St. Roberts, Missouri, which is like near Fort Leonard Wood. It's about 2 hours southwest of St. Louis, Missouri. And it's a 2-day 2K event, although I think they're just about sold out. So if you...
I didn't have 2 spots left.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be us.
It benefits ClawCon. It benefits like pet rescue stuff. So if you're into that, it's something to look into.
They have a lot of other stuff, and I think they have a lot of they have these. Apparently, they have like a huge swag bag thing that they're doing too. That you get quite a bit of stuff from your swag bag. And then the other thing is FlatCon, which I think is the next weekend after, which would be the 12th or 13th and 14th.
I believe so, yeah.
Is being run by the guys, from Unstable Dice podcast. So we'll give them a shout out. We met them at Siege World this weekend, and they're having a Sunday 2K event. So just, I guess, the 3 games on Sunday, and Saturday they're having Shadespire grand tournament. So, and there's a lot of 40K there too for everybody who's into that. I'm not. But. So, Joe, you got anything up around you?
As far as events?
Yeah.
Oh, man. You know what? Kenny Lull told me about an event 2 weeks from now in somewhere. So that's what I got.
All right.
I didn't know this question was coming, and I'm bad with names. So.
That's okay. That's okay. Yeah. We're... Anyway, I just wanted to give a shout out to those events. And, you know, if anybody's out there has events, wants us to talk about them, send it to us, put it in the chat, hit me up on Twitter. I'll make sure I mention them.
And I suppose write it to me. You just don't tell me because
not
enough just to tell me about it.
Well, I'm just as bad with the names and everything else too. So one of our pillars of the show, tournament observations. Mark and I went to Siege World. Siege World had a 2K event on Saturday and a 1K event on Sunday. Where do we want to start with that, Mark? I went to the 2K, Mark.
Start with the 2K.
What?
Start with the 2K.
The 2K. How about this? Best General, the hardware.
Looks like silver to me.
Yeah. 10. So yeah, I ran the 2K event. I guess there was only 12 players though, but it really came in second overall, I guess, because it was the best overall. Hey, shout out to Mini Stomp on Twitter who provided the prize support for this convention. That was great. So, I played a Nurgle Force, which was sort of, I called it Glotkin and Friends because it was a huge menagerie of Nurgle. Glotkin, 40 Chaos Marauders, 40 Plague Monks. Battle line was to add, it was some Chaos, 5 Chaos Warriors, 10 Plague Bears. Heroes, Festus, Demon Prince, Glotkin. One more. Globe Rotsvon.
You played crappy
And I played crappy Nurgle Toads because I misread the War Scroll.
And you had them painted.
I think they used to be okay before one of the many updates to them.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, I thought they were like, they used to have like a 4-up, like disgustingly resilient.
Mm-hmm.
And they changed it to be a 4-up, essentially awards 4-up save versus mortal wounds. So they're 5-up. I think they're 4-up regular save, 4-up versus then a 4-up versus mortal wounds. But they don't get the 4-up. You know, they miss their first save, then they're against an attack. They just take it. There's no other save. And so I took a Demon Prince as my general. Had the Ethereal Amulet, which I assume is going to get nerfed at some point.
Fine.
You think it's fine? Or you find that it gets nerfed?
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
The balancing part about Ethereal Amulet is that nothing else in Shyish is any good. So if you get a second artifact, you're kind of treading water at that point.
Right.
And the way you kill big monsters is mortal wounds anyway. It's not
right.
And so it's not like the thing's invincible now. It's just like, all right, what's my go-to for killing monsters? Mortal wounds. This monster's immune to rend. Oh, okay, I guess I'll use mortal wounds.
A lot of people were playing like the Ignax scale, I think.
Yeah, I like Ignax
for that reason.
That's what I use on my stuff. Yeah.
Anyways,
but played that. It was really the first time I was playing that, so I had a lot of questions and stuff. But my only observation is Plague Monks inside the Nurgle Force with Glotkin is just disgusting.
I totally disagree.
Idiot.
They're disgusting without Glotkin.
Plague Monks are disgusting no matter where they are or what list.
Oh, yeah. No, they're so good.
They're amazing with no buffs and no support at all. And they're amazing with buffs and with support. They're just awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
So those are guys who don't know, Plague Monks. And they have 2 attacks, 3 attacks on the charge.
4s and 4s.
4s and 4s. No rend, and then unless they get their special.
If you roll 6 to wound, and then you roll another 6, you deal a mortal wound in addition to any wound you do. They have a bunch of banners and crap that do a bunch of. It's too much to talk about. They have a lot of random crap in their war scroll.
A lot of 6 on rolling -1.
Yeah.
In addition to that, so the other thing is they reroll hits on the with their foated blades. They reroll hits that miss on their foated blades. So, yeah, so they did the work for the most part of the weekend. And I'll make the observation that I think Mark ran into the problem. He ran, for 1K, you ran a Pestilence Force, right?
Mm-hmm.
With a bunch of Plague Monks?
I did.
70 or something.
Awesome.
and I re-rolled all hits and wounds with my plague monks, and it was the worst time I've ever had.
Just because you're talking about the amount.
The sheer amount of time I spent to roll dice was awful.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so that's actually one of the topics I have to talk about, our tournament observations.
Yeah, that fits in with, I mean, my roommate's Andrew Tolstead, and so he plays Pestilence at 2K. And like before major tournaments, we're like practicing and testing, not for strategy and tactics. He can easily win almost any battle against a player. The problem is he's practicing rolling that many dice in enough time so that he can actually finish a game. That's where the real training comes in for Pestilence.
Muscle memory.
Yeah, you're rolling 100 attacks and you're re-rolling everything.
Oh yeah, seriously, yeah.
Over and over and over. I'm not making up this number. Like 40 of them are definitely rolling 120 attacks if they're all in.
And more if you have the Corruptor or something.
Yeah. It takes forever.
Yeah, no, it's awful.
A lot of times an opponent will just agree to use an app. There's a dice roller app for 40K that he uses sometimes, just so that you can finish a game, you know?
Yeah, that was one of the things I was going to ask is, do you think Games Workshop would come out with an app that everybody would, I think you would have to agree to use it, but...
I think no, because it sets a precedent that you can do more of that now. And I think rolling the dice is actually a big part of the game.
That's what I was talking to Dad yesterday, but I was like, people love just rolling dice.
They like it more than I think is healthy. If you watch like battle reports,
yeah, I know.
They're basically just watching people roll dice for 55 minutes. I don't think they put enough of the actual game in there, but people just love it. They love rolling dice.
It's like I love opening packs. It's a terrible idea, but I do it.
That's a dangerous habit to get into, I think.
Yeah, no, it's gambling at its finest.
Opening packs.
I do that too.
You can't open packs, so you watch people opening packs.
Yeah, but there's a danger in that. Oh, public service announcement. Speaking of opening packs online. Oh, wait, you guys talked about this already, right?
Yeah, we did. Oh, yeah, we are first-hand victims.
Yeah. But briefly, Age of Sigmar Champions card game, you can digitally scan your card and say that it's yours. Well, it's really good at scanning cards. It's actually too good at scanning cards. So you can look at a picture online or a video and scan someone else's card and claim it if they haven't done it yet.
Right. For example, this guy right here has, you can see the dots.
Mm-hmm.
So unless, of course, you're trying to scan your own foil, then you can't get anything.
Right. Then you got to turn off all the lights. I've run into that problem as well.
Yes.
So, Mark, 1K, what did you run?
I played Pestilence. I played 30 Plague Monks. My battle line was 30 Plague Monks, 20 Plague Monks, which we only have like 50 Plague Monks based. So it's kind of pigeonholed in that.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. So I played a Verminlord Corruptor, a Plague Priest, the Furnace because it looks sweet. 50 Plague Monks, and the Catapult. I think that's 1K.
Okay. Yeah. What artifact did you use?
I used, oh crap. I've got my I don't even remember. Okay. I used one of the
Did you use the Pestilence ones?
I used the Pestilence one, I think, yeah.
Okay.
It was not a good idea.
I agree. But a lot of tournaments are still slow to adopt this realm stuff. So sometimes you have no choice. Unfortunately.
Yeah, no, we had a choice. I just didn't do it because I'm dumb.
Yeah, as we mentioned the other day, this tournament had where it did.
Oh no, I had the Grith Feather Charm.
That's right.
It's a solid charm. Yeah.
Right.
Never mind.
I pulled up the wrong one. I had pulled up a War Scroll Builder of your force, but yeah, you built it on as your Azir app.
Yeah, it is a Grith Feather Charm.
Yeah, solid piece. Yeah, so and then they did each realm You could do the command ability and the one spell based on the realm. But again, I think it was one of those things that like everybody forgot.
Not a single person in any of my games ever used the realm spells.
Oh no.
Which, I mean, I think one of them was in the Realm of Light, and you could use the command point to pile in right? You can use a command point to pile in an attack before your opponent or something. And like everybody just forgot it because, you know, everybody's concentrated trying to get those games done.
Are 1K tournaments way more, you know, casual then? Is that
or for the 1K tournament, we legit only had an hour and 40 minutes for the game.
Oh, okay.
And
he's like, hey,
it sounds like enough, but I barely got done with like turn 3 on my games. And I play really fast. Like when I can pace myself pretty well. Or like I can stop and think in positions where I need to stop and think, and then I'm like, okay, I need to turn up the heat.
So yeah, they were basically that short, and so it was kind of tough to really whatever. And after pushing all those models on Saturday, when I went Sunday, I basically just said, well, to hell with this, I'm going to run Tomb Kings, and I just basically ran Chariots and Snakes and a leader, and did pretty good. But yeah, that was kind of funny watching some people's reaction to those Chariots and Snakes regenerating. Holy cow!
Oh yeah, their abilities are very strong.
And 1,000 points games are. I learned this against Tyler. Summoning's broken in 1,000 points. Anything that summons a decent amount of things is just absurdly dumb.
Yes.
Like you just like are because the game is balanced around 2,000 points.
Yeah. You're
getting basically double your points of like efficiency.
Right. So if anybody was really serious,
off of if anyone was serious, they just would have brought double Engine of the Gods or whatever.
Right. Right.
Who did you play against in Pestilence? So probably Seraphon, because you're talking about summoning.
No, I played against is it Branch Witch? Who's the Sylvaneth lady that just yeah, it really wasn't like that bad, but it was just I got outpaced by it. Even just them summoning 10 Dryads every turn.
Right. So
how many rounds was it? 3?
It was 3. Just 3, yeah.
The Sylvaneth, what else?
I played Sylvaneth.
Twice?
Sylvaneth, Gutbusters.
Oh, okay.
Which was a joke of a game.
What? It was a joke?
Well, I think he was like...
not listen to this.
he just ran his stuff up and he just wanted to kill things and didn't care about the objective, which is cool.
Is that the guy with the big was that the giant?
No, that was you played that guy round 3. How could I have played him round 3?
Played him round 2. He was one of the unstable dice guys, though.
Yeah.
They had the siege. Somebody from them. They ran like the Siege World Giant and the other giant, and yeah, it was just kind of a joke of a force.
Okay, fair enough.
But he, knew that, but like also knew I'm going low model count.
But yeah, I think back to your thing though. Like I think 1,000 points is pretty casual. I think people are just playing what they want to play. Like I certainly didn't play what I thought was going to win. I just played what I wanted to play.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of that going on the second day. People were just kind of like burnt out from the first day. Although they had different people there for the 1K versus the 2K, which I guess because like Mark worked on Saturday, he made it Sunday. Other people could come Saturday, couldn't come Sunday, didn't make the whole weekend of it. I mean, that was kind of nice. That was pretty cool that we were able to do that. And Sunday became more casual, if that makes any sense. So anyway, I was going to say
talk to us about Gen Con.
Oh, okay.
Mr. You won a best sport, right?
I won best sport in the narrative tournament that I played after Gen Con.
Oh, okay. Well, anyways.
I got top 8 at Gen Con.
Oh,
so that is definitely completely misleading because there were 12 players at Gen Con.
Isn't that kind of sad?
And so top 8 actually means bottom half.
Yeah. Mark,
I brought Beast Claw, so what do you expect? Like, I wanted to have fun. The reason why nobody showed up is because there wasn't an AOS tournament last year. And when you search for Age of Sigmar in Gen Con's awful search engine for its events,
God, it's awful.
nothing pops up at all. And so if you just type Age of Sigmar, nothing shows up. I typed Warhammer : space Age of Sigmar, and then the tournament popped up. And I bet almost nobody did that. And so I'm trying to publicize the fact that there was a tournament this year, and there will be again. So I imagine there will be a lot more next year.
We will hopefully be at Gen Con next year. I have missed. This is the first Gen Con I've missed. Dad, when did we start going? I was maybe 10.
Yeah, you were about 10, so it's
I'm
probably
20. I'm 22 right now.
Yeah.
So this is the first one I've missed in 12 years.
Wow.
Sadness.
But we did go to Adepticon where we've never done that before, so.
Adepticon was excellent. Big fan. So anyway, I should talk about Gen Con, the tournament. Like, let's see.
What'd you play?
I played Beast Claw Raiders, my pet army, the first army I got, and I played. Let's see if I have I don't have a picture of it on hand, but I played probably the most min-maxed version of Beast Claw I could think of at the time, which was Huskard on Thundertusk General, so that you can play Yetis as battle line, because Mornfang are trash. So 3 units of 3 Yetis. They're okay. They can be activated and pile in from 6, which is a strong combat trick. Means you can stay 4 inches away and have, quote-unquote, always strike first in a way. And it means you can always retreat and run nonstop, because running and retreating stops you from charging, doesn't stop you from piling in. And so you can do clever tricks like that. And they're at -1 to hit in melee. The problem is they have 6-up saves and hit on 4s. So they do like 4 damage for 140 points. And then someone targets them with shooting, like a Rend 1, and they just explode. But that's fine. You're shooting Yetis, you're not shooting Thundertusks. I'm cool with it. And then for the rest of the points in the whole army, 3 Frost Lords on Stonehorns. Army over.
Smash.
Yeah, 13 models.
How'd you ever hold an objective, you poor soul?
Well, the first round was 3 places of power, so I held an objective very nicely, actually.
Okay. Fair.
I got to the center point, which is on top of this stupid tower thing, terrain they had, and my Stormcast opponent sent a bunch of Liberators and stuff around there, knowing that the Stonehorns have a downside, which is, if there's a unit within 12, they must charge it. And they must charge like off of the objective they're trying to capture to charge that unit. Luckily, I was able to spend a command point every turn to re-roll charges. Not failed charges, but charges.
I think I saw a tweet about that. That's pretty funny.
And so I re-rolled my successful charges to make sure I failed to keep scoring points, which was fun. And then round 2 was against 80 Skeleton Nagash. We didn't get there.
You don't say.
Yeah. Spell Portal is very scary, as is Hand of Dust, when you're running 4 models worth 400 points. Yeah. And 80 Skeletons are difficult to deal with when you're hitting on 5s or 6s, because it double cast a few times.
And this was pre-Portal nerf, right?
This is post-Portal nerf, about 2 weeks after. Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's post-Portal nerf. Portal sucks, but Portal is great with Hand of Dust.
Yeah, Portal is great. Like, if you have the one spell you can cast through it, and Nagash certainly does, then it's pretty good.
Like, you spent 40, or what is it?
60.
I spent 60 points to kill your 400-point model. That's called...
Yeah. In fact,
like
once he summoned a portal in my way, so I just couldn't move, because the bases are so huge on the guys. We learned that those shackles everybody says are so good.
Oh yeah, Soul Slinger shackles.
Everybody's right. You can summon those in a triangle right. Exactly around a Frost Lord, like base to base, and he can never move for the rest of the game.
Oh yeah, that should get FAQ'd.
Yeah, because he can't fly. He can't actually move. Like, he can't physically fit through them, and they're friendly models, so you can't jump over them. So unless you have a wizard that can dispel those, you're stuck forever, which is kind of hilarious. I could see it leading to a bad game experience.
Yeah,
but as the type of player I am, I just find that really interesting, even if it's happening to me. But it definitely should. Well, I don't know. Maybe it shouldn't get changed. Just bring wizards, right? I don't know.
I guess.
And round 3 was against Khorne. One of those Khorne lists that you see a lot of the times, where people seem to just be flipping coins and choosing units until they're done. And so it was 3 Frost Lords that had 3-up saves, rerolling 1s against a bunch of not 40-man Reavers that didn't have Rend. It didn't end well for him. It was a battle plan that neither of us, well, that I technically couldn't win because it was one of those where you had to control 2 points at the same time, his and yours. And you couldn't just like leave, you had to stick on it.
Right.
And it specifically said, must capture with 5 models or more.
Yeah,
and so I have 13 in my whole army. And so he's like, if I kill 4 Yetis, you can't win. And because I would need 5 for his and 5 for mine. I'm like, well, that's a good plan. That's a good strat. My plan is to kill your entire army and then you can't win. And I killed his entire army. And it was a draw. Because he killed 4 Yetis and then just got tabled because it didn't matter anymore. And so neither of us could win, and I won on kill points.
I tabled an opponent at Adepticon and lost.
Yep.
That was a good time.
That's one of the great things about AOS, I think.
It is. It actually is a good
things
thing.
that make it better than 40k, if I'll be so inflammatory as to say that. And it's because the default list building idea isn't just kill the person with the cheesiest stuff you can. But it is in 40k, and so that's like the roots of some of the ways you behave, I think, and the ways you build lists in both of the games. Is that AOS, you tend to need to really care about objectives, and so movement really matters.
I would say mobility is the most important.
Yeah.
Yeah,
killing is, of course, important, but it's not the best thing, because you can kill their guys and still lose. And it's more common than people might think.
This led to the thing I asked you earlier, off air or whatever, where I had wrote down in our notes, are the scenarios fair? And I mean, you had said yes because everybody knows what they are ahead of time or what you're going to be facing.
Yeah, it's yes with an asterisk, I think.
Right, but I guess my point is that certain forces are definitely advantaged in AOS scenarios, in my opinion.
Oh yeah,
I guess is an observation. Just the guys that have the movement shenanigans, I'll call it, where they can pop up on the objective points or
deep striking. Although this deep, okay, so Joe, we had this conversation at Siege World. Can you deep strike onto an objective?
We Twittered
and score it. Would be the second half of the question.
Because because the new
yes, you can, except for 3 places of power and places of arcane power.
Okay.
Because those 2 battle plans specifically say you must move onto the point, and retreat moves don't count.
Okay.
So in those specific ones, it says that you have to move onto it, and a teleport is a setup. It's not a move. So then you wouldn't score those.
Well, in the previous edition, when basically all objectives said you had to move on, or like in explaining capturing objective, you had to move on to an objective. Now it's just at the end count models closest, and whoever has more gets it. So
now Siege World had an interesting thing on that take on that too. Joe, I'll get your take on this.
Sure.
He changed models within 6 inches to wounds within 3 of the edge of the objective marker, which was a 2-inch thing. So it was really.
Oh, and then they gave you an objective marker that all were the same size then?
Yeah.
Okay.
So essentially it's like 5 of a point, I guess, is what I was saying.
I mean, clearly they're trying to help out elite armies, because being elite and low model count is just strictly a disadvantage in the game. It's always better to be a horde, in just about every situation. And so the TOs probably saw that, and they're like, well, these poor Beast Claw, Gutbuster armies can't capture anything with their 2 Mournfings for 160 points,
right.
versus 10 Reavers. Even if you kill half of them, you can't capture anything. So they were trying to help out those armies, but I think definitely disagree with trying to do that, I think. I'd rather the tournaments just use the real rules of the game so that every tournament isn't its own backwater hodgepodge of house rules.
Right.
Yeah.
I think uniformity in rules and tournament structure and like I think that's much more important than having every TO try to fix the game with his own house rules.
Yeah, as you've said that, and you know, we've talked about that. I think it's
On the way home, we actually had this conversation.
I would like, yeah, it'd be nice. Like I know that they basically at Nova talked about these. They're going to have approved, Warhammer approved or something tournaments. It'd be nice if they came out with like these, I don't know, about guidelines or something, maybe even stronger than that. You know, like when you go to play a Magic event, you know what the rules are. And it seems like there's a lot. I mean, not only is there's the TO's interpretation of how to do scenarios and secondary objectives and all that kind of stuff. There's no rules for. I mean, we were talking on the way home just about like what happens when time runs out. You know.
Yeah, there is no protocol for any of that.
Yeah, I mean that's just got to be something where the TO at the beginning of the tournament gets up and he's like, "Age of Sigmar players, okay, here's what's gonna happen. You know, at the end of I will call a half an hour time, and then I'll call 15 minutes time. And at the end of 15 minutes, you won't start another turn. At the end of the time limit, dice down. Don't talk about what could happen in the future. You know, just like the TO should just run through stuff right away. I'm a big advocate, as you can see, of even if stuff isn't fair, it's at least fair to know about how unfair it is beforehand. And then it becomes more fair in so doing.
Well, you kind of got hit by that at Gen Con, right?
I did, but it was because of my own. It was my own fault. In round one, I spent so much time taking pictures of people's armies and chatting with dudes that I didn't read the packet until like we had started setting stuff up already. And my opponent was like well-known podcast man whose name I forgot and whose show I forgot. Definitely not good at.
That's his name, actually. Well-known podcast
Sorry for no
man.
shout-outs. Yeah, sorry for no shout-outs. He was a nice guy and his army was cool. But he's like, you know, we're reading through the pamphlet and we're looking at it and it's like, okay, 6 points for a major win, 3 points for a minor win, 2 points or something for a... You still got points if you lost. Long story short. And all the secondaries and tertiaries added up to... If you lost the main scenario but got all the secondaries and tertiaries, you could very easily beat someone who beat you in the scenario. And I'm like, oh, that sucks, you know? And he's like, no, don't worry about it. This is West Coast pairings. I've done this a million times. All that secondaries and stuff, that's just for tiebreakers. Whoever wins the major victory, that you won the round. And all that other stuff is just for tiebreakers. And I'm like, oh, cool, okay. And so we play through the game, and I win. And there's like a turn left, and I'm like, well, I clearly won, but let's just pick up some secondaries, you know? If it doesn't hurt me, like, here, have some tiebreakers, you know? And then at the end of the round, the TO comes over, and he's like, okay, looks like Podcast Man wins, because he had more points. Out of like, what? And he's like, oh, yeah. And so, yeah, he was just simply mistaken. And so I just lost round one. And totally my fault.
That sucks.
Because I should have, like, made sure and, you know, and everything like that. But it's a cautionary tale to, like, make sure you know exactly what's going on.
I would have been like, yo, man, give me the win.
No. I mean, like, competitor half of me is like, this dude should have known what was going on.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just trolling.
Closing door from dog barking.
Oh, I couldn't hear it, but all right.
Yeah, I couldn't either.
All right.
My dog's great. Don't hate.
I didn't say. I'm not hating on your dog. So, yeah. So basically, I do think that the scenario-wise, though, the guys that can deep strike and stuff seem like they really have an advantage. Or, again, I guess it goes into that low drop count too, because if you can move out and just jump onto an objective turn one, the guy's got to knock you off of it, which is and he's gonna. You're
that
gonna
can be good and bad, I suppose.
What's
but it's
that?
so powerful. Well, it's so powerful to be able to choose. It's not just like you go first; it's you can choose.
Right.
And so if your opponent sets up too far up, well, now you can alpha strike him. And if your opponent sets up across the back line because he's afraid, oh, you got first turn, buddy. Like, here you go.
Yeah.
And now what are they going to do? Like, their turn's wasted. And so it's very, very strong to be able to go first. And I think having battalions let you become one drops and stuff to like just about guarantee you always go first every round of a tournament is certainly too strong. But
I think they're kind of getting away from that.
I mean, yeah, they made a lot of battalions
like
pretty
the
bad by that.
Like Idenith battle or battalions are kind of
Yeah. In fact, a lot of battalions are not worth taking at all now.
yeah. There's so many points.
Yeah, even the ones that nobody took because they were too expensive before, they're like, well, you're getting a command point now, better increase it by 50. It's like, look, Torbad sucks if it was free, dude, and it's like 200 points, so I don't know who's balancing those, but they seem to just be adding numbers randomly.
Yeah. What do you think about adding a chess clock? All right, we're echoing, and I don't like it.
I heard Rob Stimes talking about that. He did like a show on it, or if I recall.
Okay.
And I didn't disagree with anything he had to say. It's you know, chess clocks are harder than in chess, obviously, because there's a whole lot of back and forth that's happening all the time. Like, I'm attacking and now you're rolling saves. And
Yeah.
usually people go, or at least from what I've seen, all right, Frostlord has 4 attacks, so like, all right, I'm attacking with the Stonehorns. 4 hits, 4 wounds, now you roll saves. All right, now it's the Frost Spear. Now you roll, and it's like kind of going back and forth per weapon. If there were chess clocks, I think people would choose to play differently and like do everything in a big bundle and like set out their dice. Okay, make 2 rend 1 saves, 2 rend 2 saves. You know, no rends. It would change the way people organize how they interact with armor saves. I think in the game, it wouldn't. I don't think it would make it any worse. It would just change it.
Right.
Also, having people lumber around the entire table to hit the chess clock the way some Warhammer players are would, you know, that's gonna take some time off of the round.
I just know, like, in my like playing Magic in real life, sometimes if an opponent is just playing slower, you have more control over. Like on Magic the Gathering Online is just a god awful program and no one should use it, but I love the chess. I like the chess clock on that.
Oh yeah, it's something you could only do digitally.
Yeah,
it's probably the only thing about MTGO that I like. But you know, the fact that your clock isn't ticking if you've ever passed priority, it means that finally your opponents can't slow play you out of matches and stuff.
Yeah.
So suddenly like all your rounds are ending. Your opponent has like 3 minutes left and you have 20. And you're just like, man, opponents are slow as fuck this game. And I'm happy that I'm not playing you in real life because I'd have to call the judge over probably in the first 5 minutes to have them watch you. And slow playing is so subjective and it's hard to enforce. And there's a stigma against calling a judge. You're kind of like a jerk for doing it. There's all these layers with it.
It's especially really in a messy situation in Warhammer with a friendship score. Judge, can you watch my opponent for slow play? 0 on the sportsman score
immediately, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But then you're going to give him a 0 because he's
but yeah, well, that's just
it's just like a toxic explosion of 0 sports scores all over the place.
Yeah.
But the sportsmanship score thing is a great idea implemented really poorly anyway. I think in
I can see that. I think you talked about that in your original Adepticon videos.
Yeah, I found it so weird because in Magic, obviously it's very different.
Yeah, dude, I'll call someone on Magic.
I'm not saying they're rude Magic players necessarily. They certainly are about your opponent when you're at the concession stand talking about your last round, but like not to their face. You're like, there's a reason I had 3 hot dogs in the past 20 minutes because I blew the guy up. He was not ready.
Right. So hey, what do you guys think? It sounds like you think. Are there other things that can be done to speed things up? One idea I had was that you know, at this tournament, Adepticon, you roll each piece of terrain and find out whether it's arcane, mystic, whatever. I kind of like the idea of maybe having that be static every table. You have enough tables. You're not
Yes.
playing on the same table every time, more than once.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You told me this earlier. Oh, did you have a Mark comment?
Oh no, yeah, I was just saying if you can do that and cut off 5 minutes of my time doing that, please.
Yes. I think that's the best suggestion I've ever heard for increasing speed of play in tournaments. Also, it would curb a lot of potential advantageous situations. Like already you can't move terrain when you show up. In almost every packet, only the TO can touch terrain. You can't move it around. And so, this is just another layer onto it. You show up to the table's fully ready, and you just play it. Because the flip side is if you can move terrain around, well, then your Sylvaneth opponent shows up 5 minutes before you, and suddenly, like, there's pockets of nothing around where all the objectives are going to be. Like, oh, yeah, that's interesting. I wonder what's going to go there before the game begins, or your Night Hunt opponent shows up with massive 2-foot tall line of sight blocking terrain, and his whole army flies. So this is fine, but for you got to foot slug it around all that stuff, and you can get a massive advantage throughout an entire day.
Yeah. So I think that it would be something that seems like it takes 5 or 10 minutes would save every game. Matchups. You wanted to talk about strength of schedule.
Yeah, well, it's more than talk about strength of schedule. I'm going to reference it and then shout out to Just Saying podcast, who this is one of their.
I like him.
That they're really they're pounding this home, and it's just a strictly good thing to do, and I think they should be taken seriously for their suggestions. Strength of schedule is a way of determining tiebreakers that instead of with kill points, where the kill points are problematic for determining tiebreakers for for many reasons. The first is it means that defensive strategies are generally just worse than offensive strategies. And I know people like to be aggressive and attacky and things die instead of not die, but I think that legal strategies shouldn't be like, disadvantage. What?
But you're a blue-white player at heart.
Yeah. Hey, the only thing better than drawing extra cards is taking extra turns. And so blue player, yeah. But also, there's a lot of goofy situations that make kill points not fair. For instance, if you summon stuff, now you're playing with 2,100 points, or 2,100 points instead of 2K. And if I kill those, I don't get kill points for them. And so I'm not getting any benefit from killing those. You're just like purely ahead. Or what if you're playing against Iron Jaws, and he's got an 180-point battalion and 200 unspent points for 4 command abilities? Well, that's 380 points worth of kill points you can't get.
Right.
Yeah, so if you kill everything in the battalion...
If you table each other, he got like 2,700 points, or 1,700 points, and you win. So there's goofy things with that. Also, it tends to be the case that if you table your opponent, it was probably not difficult to win. It's indicative of an easy game for the most part. I know there are exceptions, but generally speaking, if you table all 5 of your opponents, you probably had 5 easy games for the most part. And strength of schedule, what that does is it takes, there's a bunch of different mathematical ways to do it, and there's a whole, like, every game does it differently. Chess does it differently. Swiss does it differently in Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, the word game. Long story short, it takes into account your opponent's win-loss record and some other math to figure out how good your opponents were. And so if you beat 5 people that were really good and all did well except for losing you, well, then you probably had a harder road to the top than somebody who beat 3 people that got dead last, like last, second to last, third to last, and then 2 other people, right? And, all else being equal, you got to determine tiebreakers somehow, and the person with the harder road to the top is probably more deserving.
Cool.
I totally agree.
And that's just about their philosophy, the quick and dirty of their philosophy on strength schedule.
Yeah.
And I'd recommend listening to their podcast because it's very entertaining to me.
Yeah, I think that GW basically needs to implement, like, they need to have a tournament, like, thing that's like, okay, like, here's input these people, okay, press this button, these people are playing against each other.
Yeah, they need
Press
decent
this button.
gameplay.
Yeah, exactly.
Except not a huge piece of crap like it is.
Well,
that thing crashes after 600 people, right? And there was a 5,000 person, Las Vegas tournament. They had to run like 4 tournaments separately.
Yeah, I was at that tournament.
Couldn't handle it.
I was at it. I overslept it.
Oh, you did? Damn, that sucks. I was outside of it, and tangent, I guess, but I was outside of it, and dude's waiting outside, and he's like, "Can you believe this thing's sold out? I flew all the way here, and I can't even enter the tournament." And every molecule in my body was vibrating at a high pitch frequency to avoid telling him, you bought a plane ticket to Las Vegas and you didn't even pre-register to the tournament. Like, this is what you get. You made your bed, you got to sleep in it, dude. Like, this is a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah,
to hordes being advantageous earlier. It seems like when the game first came out, everybody's like, "Oh, the monsters are the way to go."
They were so wrong.
I know.
But I think as time goes on, like things have only gotten better.
The hordes. I guess I'm wondering, is it time for the horde discounts to go away?
Yes.
Of course. However, if that's what your army's thing is, then keep them in for that one, sure. I mean, it's like, for instance, if we got rid of battalions being 1 drop, I still think Sylvaneth should have some sort of mechanic where they're able to go first more often than not. Because a critical part of Sylvaneth's game plan is setting up a Wildwood and like being there on turn 1.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so you can maintain that without kind of ruining the game for other people. And I feel the same way about massive regiments. Hordes are already better than anything else you can be doing, just about. It's not horde meta, but every successful army has at least 1 or 2 hordes in it. I'm struggling to think of counterexamples. And if any, they'd be pure exceptions. And so I don't think you need to be given 60 extra points for free for having such a great option as to do one of the best things ever. Now, if, like, Pestilence, sure, give them a massive reg discount. That's what they're supposed to do. Fire Slayers, same thing. Pure horde armies, cool. Like, make their hordes cheap then. And you could even have it be faction-based. It's sort of the inverse of the Beast Claw monster fix that I put out a while ago, where it's like, what you want is to give the faction the tools it needs to succeed, but what you don't want is the best thing a faction can do to be allied into some better army.
Right.
And now they just like, well, oh man, Stonehorns are really good, so we'll take those and just dump all the other Allegiance stuff from Beastclaw in the trash where it belongs, And then now you have Grand Alliance armies that are just awesome, and they're poaching people's stuff.
I mean, that's what the Grand Alliance order list was for the longest time with the Frostheart Phoenix.
Or it's like, the best thing that Fire Slayers can do is a Rune Lord or a Rune Smiter and 30 Volkite Berserkers. So we'll just do that, and then we won't have to worry about Fire Slayers' problems. We'll just take that. And so one of the things is you could have a Fire Slayer's Allegiance ability that says Fire Slayer's max unit squads cost X amount less or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You could have, Beast Claw Behemoths are really good, so they all get +1 to hit, or, whatever. Like, if you bake it into Allegiance abilities, it still rewards people for playing a faction, but disincentivizes poaching, which is generally a feel-bad thing anyway. I mean, Frostlord on Stonehorn is 420 points. That's probably too expensive. But there's it's so obvious that they didn't make it 400 just so you can't ally it in.
Right.
They did that with a few other units in a few other armies as well that are at they might as well be at 401. It's that obvious of we don't want you to ally this thing, even though it probably, if you're going to be honest, should be maybe 380 or whatever. But if they're so concerned about allies, there are better ways to do it, I think.
Yeah, they could just say this cannot be allied. End of story.
Yeah, easy.
Instead of making people overpay for it. Speaking of allies.
Yeah, speaking of allies.
Stormcast
Hmm?
Wizards
Oh, Stormcast Wizards. Okay.
were the rage of the day at Siege World.
With
But-
Endless Spell Comet or without?
With all of them have it.
Yep. That sounds about right.
The 1,000-point list even played. I was like, how did you fit that?
Right. So
That's
yeah,
what you get when you make an Endless Spell actually worth 100 points instead
yeah.
of
telling
the
me the
Brown Sun.
You're telling me the purple.
yeah. So that comment, and I actually was gonna share it so people can make sure that they know about it.
It's broken.
It's
It
great.
hurts.
Dude cast it on me every turn at Gen Con. He had
Sounds
two
awful.
wizards. And the reason you have two wizards is that one casts it and the other unsummons it every turn. Up and down, up and down. It's good. Is it broken? No. It's just really good, that's all.
I have a tendency to say broken for things that are good because it's just my stupid terminology.
So I brought this sucker up.
It was a figure of speech more than a declaration of
it
should be nerfed or something.
Right. So this guy, I mean, a couple things I guess that make it so good is this: 36 inches
outside of unbind range.
Outside of unbind range.
Also 6 to cast, super easy.
Right. Although my opponent failed it, so that was cool. Yeah. So, but then it can go basically. It's kind of a MSU hero killer, right?
Yeah.
So your 5 wound heroes, it's going to go wow. It's going to really do the bad deeds to them. And then also you get the -1 on the casting rolls, so somebody's within 5 of it. So yeah, the theme that we noticed, or I noticed, I guess, is that pretty much everybody had this Stormcast. Had the Stormcast Wizard. I don't know if it was because it was cheapest or just easy to whatever.
Probably the Incanter if they were doing it right.
Yeah.
All Stormcast Wizards are too expensive, and so they just took the cheapest one with the Unbind scroll and called it a day.
Right, which is another great thing, right?
Dad, I think you're presenting to everyone.
He is presenting to everyone. I don't know what that means though.
There we
go. He is stealing our spotlight.
Yeah, I'm that way.
I got a painting light actually. It's not even spotlight.
Yeah. So yeah, that model was just yeah. So they get an automatic unbind with that guy, and they bring this comet along, and pretty much anybody that was playing any order faction had that model, and then this endless spell.
I've been testing it in my own mixed order list. I must admit, it's good. The Knight Incanter for 140 points is you know, it's a full plate male wizard that has an auto unbind, so she's good.
It's a good deal.
Yeah, if she was cheaper, she'd be too good. If she was more expensive, she wouldn't be worth playing. I think 140 is actually pretty fine for her. And so if you're talking about in a list, it's 240 points for an auto unbind and the comet every other turn. So I mean, it's not nothing. 240 points is a decent investment, but you get a lot out of it. I think it's just good. It's like how I feel about Nurgle. It's not overpowered. It's just really good, really, really good. You know, and yeah, I don't. I think people might get over it a little bit, but it's a strong tool.
Right.
I think they just compare it to like the Purple Sun, so immediately they're like in their mind, it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, this is so much. This is like, you know, it's just so much better. So
the other
Quicksilver Swords does more damage than the Purple Sun on average. It costs 20 points. Like the Purple Sun is a huge turd. It is dung.
I did try the pendulum. This
purple dung.
Yeah, the brown sun. That's what we call it.
I did try the pendulum this weekend or whatever, and I guess I had one good time that I could have cast it and failed.
Yeah, it's okay. I consider it to be a real spell, not even an endless spell. It's like if you're in range, deal a d6 mortal wounds to them, and then basically that's it.
Right.
It just runs off the
to you, if that's worth 40 points, then go for it.
Yeah, I was just like, well, I just hate the fact that somebody can turn a spell around on you.
It can't. Well,
Yeah, that's why I don't play with Geminids. Because the debuff is too crippling if it comes back and hits me, so I can't play with them, unfortunately, even though they're very good.
Right. So,
or I had someone that just like threw the Geminids at me, and then I went, what is it, second or whatever. I just was like, okay, they're over there now, gone forever. See you later.
Just move them away.
You're not in range. They're not part of the game.
Yeah. And due to the nerf, now you can't get hit by both of them at the same time. So
yeah, so
it's not too much. It's still
they're still good, but they're not great.
If you can absorb a -1 to hit buff and it won't ruin everything, then they're the best. But if debuffs are problematic, then I don't think it's worth taking the chance to spend points to help your opponent kill you.
That's
which in a way is what's happening with some endless spells that people are just throwing around willy-nilly.
Obviously, the spell portal is powerful because you're gonna what it brings to Nagash and stuff.
Yeah, I think this version of it is perfectly balanced. It's expensive. It's only really good for you if you have the one good spell to send through it, but it's not an auto include in every spellcaster list. And I think being a little underwhelming for most people is balanced for something that increases the range of spells 18 inches. So I'm okay with this.
It seems like the other endless spell, I guess, what is it, Cogs? Seems like the other one that might be.
I think Cogs is a trap, but I can see obviously that it's very good, right? Like +2 move for everybody and +2 charge is very good. It's just you know, that can definitely bite you real quick
when you switch around.
Yeah. Many times I see the cogs helping people's opponents more than them. And it casts on a 7. And a lot of armies are like allying in some wizard with no bonuses to cast and thinking like they're an Alpha Strike army when they have a 50% chance of no cogs turn 1 and hence no turn 1 charge. And it's like, you're hoping to get lucky a lot of turn 1s in a row throughout the day.
Right.
But if it works, then cool, you know. I think it's more for like Wurgog, or what is it? What's that wizard in Ironjaws? Wurgog Prophet? No, that's Bone Spirit.
The Wog Prophet, or the Wog, the War Chanter, right?
No, War Chanter is the +1 to hit man. Weird Knob Shaman, that's it.
Yes.
Like that dude gets probably +2 or 3 to cast, and so Ironjaws is like the perfect thing for cogs for the most part.
Right.
The only thing is, in Ironjaws, you want as many 50-point blocks of unspent points as you can, so it becomes a real decision. Which is fine for it, I think.
So, Joe, you attended a narrative event.
I did. It was my second narrative event ever. The first one was so bad of an experience that I was lucky to have already started painting my army, because if I just played the narrative event as an exploration into the hobby, I would have never played Age of Sigmar.
R/mini swap.
Yeah, I would have pieced out immediately of the hobby if that was like, I wonder how to play AOS. I'll just play this narrative event. It was that bad, but I won't get into it.
Tell us about the good one.
The good one happened just this other week, and so it was a narrative tournament, and the tournament was in a lowercase t, and narrative was in an uppercase N, and so I'm like, okay. If the tournament has you write a one-page story about your guys when you're entering the tournament and you submit the story and tell it to your opponent, it's like a good clue as to how casual or narrative or whatever the tournament's going to be.
Cool, actually.
There's like a story about in the Facebook group for the tournament. They're like, all right, here's the story. You know, setting the scene. There's this mystical staff that can resurrect anyone one time. And your guys are trying to find this staff so that you can use it, and you have to come up with some reason why your dudes want it. And then every round, if you win the round, you get a D6 keys. If you go to certain places or do certain things on each of the battle plans, you get keys to unlock doors in this big tower to try to find the staff. And so more keys, the better. You have to physically place them like next to guys that have them on the table. And so if your opponent rolls up and kills the dude, well, he can like collect them. So it's like a death match.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, which is cool. And here's the rub. He put a realm gate in the middle of every table.
Oh God.
And so he's like, if you use the realm gate, you can appear at the board edge of your table. And, this gives you a little bit of maneuverability. And so before the first round began, I raised my hand and I'm like, can I enter a realm gate and exit on a different table? And I should not have asked this because it ruined everything. And he said yes. And so round one went completely normally. Everyone played their rounds and got their keys. And okay, this is cool. I played against Fire Slayers and I got destroyed. Oh, I brought a fluffy version of Beast Claw, which is probably a mistake because it would have been maybe competitive if I was playing against other people's narrative lists with my hardcore Beast Claw one, but maybe not even then. And so I basically just brought my best painted stuff, the stuff I was the most proud of. And I'm like, here's my list, here's my story. And I played against a very like narrative, fluffy version of Fire Slayers. It was so narrative, this Fire Slayers list, that it was playing with Magma Droths. So, unbelievable. And it completely destroyed me easily. And he was playing like definitely narratively loose. Like, this guy's a father and son, and he wants to stick next to him, and like, doing goofy stuff like that. And so round two rolls around. Now everybody's got keys. This is different. And so
everyone's just sniping everyone else's heroes.
So I play against Nurgle in turn one, kind of normal. Turn two, Nagash shows up on the board edge and gives my Frostlord the finger and picks up all the keys. And then he kills Nurgle, a Great Unclean One, picks up all his keys, and just pieces back out through the portal.
That sounds miserable.
Onto another board on someone else's table, kills their Dragon Lord, takes that guy's keys, and then the round's over. This is after he won on his own table because, Nagash 40 skeletons and 80 ghosts to a narrative event. Cool. Okay. I see. I see you. All right.
Well, it's pretty easy to make up that story, though.
Yeah, well, it was a great story. His story was, I showed up today to play in this tournament. I'm here to win the tournament. I didn't write a story.
Oh.
I'm just here to win. I'm like, okay, well, at least you're honest. And then round three, which was the last round, we got some guys together and we're like, fuck this dude. And so in round three, 4 tables show up to Nagash's table at the same time and table his army. And then all of us immediately turn on each other. And it's like, what's that movie? Adventures with Babysitting? No, it's not that. Mom and Dad Save the Universe, where everybody keeps picking up the grenade that kills you. And it's just eventually a pile of bodies and everybody's just trying to get the thing. And so everyone stabs each other in the back for 35 minutes. And like 3 Zangors are the last ones to pick up the keys. And he wins with like 26 keys. And he wins the tournament.
Pretty cool.
So everything was ruined, but it was awesome. I won best sportsmanship, even though I caused some madness.
Backstabbing the gosh.
Yeah, and I got some Namarti thralls for my trouble. And this is actually kind of an interesting accidental experience. My teammate at Gen Con took 3rd with Nagash, and he won an Eidolon of Mathland. And so purely by chance, teammate gets a trophy, wins Eidolon of Mathland. I win a trophy, get Namarti Thralls. Apparently our team is going to build Ideneth Deepkin out of victories, like out of just winnings.
The eels.
So we got to do it. Yeah, I know the eels are extremely good. I think the Namarti Thralls are underrated. But the eels
I did too, but I don't want to paint. I don't want to paint 90 of them.
Oh, that sounds fun. Actually, I don't know.
You think painting 90 models sounds fun?
Yeah. So I play Age of Sigmar because I wanted to learn how to paint miniatures and like improve in it as a hobby. but also like, you know, play the game.
Right.
And I'm learning that that's probably the minority. I think a lot of people just want to
think so.
complete. So, well, I suppose it's very different in 40K, or at least the 40K players that I have been.
40K people jump around a lot. I've seen.
Yeah. I mean, I was like putting together a kill team, which is my first intro into 40K for the most part, and I got the box called Kill Team for Kill Team because I figured it would comply. And I'm like putting a dude together, and the 40K person is like talking to me about it, and he's giving me like painting strategies for the fastest, cheapest, shittiest way of painting all the guys to make sure that like technically it's legal and you have the 3 colors and everything. And I'm like, that's
prime.
And I'm like taking a razor blade and tapping like the little ammo thing that'll go on their vest, and I'm like gluing one of the little ammo pieces into his vest and everything. He's like, oh man, have fun painting that. And I'm like, I will. That's fun. That's why I'm doing it. It was an interesting experience, I suppose, with the other half of this hobby.
Right. I started basically, I guess, like I said, with Isle of Blood, and I basically just wanted to play the game. I didn't care about the painting.
Mm-hmm.
And I've kind of almost flipped now. I spend more time paint than play. It's kind of therapeutic, I guess. I think Mark kind of agrees a little bit too. It's sometimes frustrating.
I spend more time thinking about how I'm going to paint it, and then getting upset that I'm not as good as someone like Vince. And then I get discouraged.
Oh, paint bravely. That's what he says.
Oh, yes. Yeah, you can paint bravely when you paint like him.
Well, that's the only way you get to paint like him.
I know, I'm sad.
40 hours a week.
Cool, because if you screw up, it was like when I was learning to paint flesh 6 months ago for ogres. I'm like, I don't know how to paint skin. I'll watch Duncan's thing on it. And I tried to do that, and it looked terrible. And I'm like, well, this looks terrible. And so I just painted over it. And then I'm like, well, this looks terrible. And I just painted over it. I did that like 6 times. Paint's pretty, as long as you thin your paints, I think you're good. The cool thing about paints is that you can paint over your mistakes. And then you get your system down, and now you know how to do it for the most part.
Well, I've become relatively decent, I'll say.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably crappy compared to someone like Vince, but in grand scheme of people that play this hobby, I've become decent at airbrushing.
He's got 4 golden demons and competes in Crystal Brush. I don't know if comparing yourself to him is healthy exactly.
Yeah.
Whatever. Comparing myself to...
Sure.
In the grand scheme of things,
is of course important, but also
I'm pretty good at airbrushing. Paintbrushing, I need to. It's more the muscle memory. I need to. If I don't spend like 20 minutes a day doing it, I lose the muscle memory sometimes.
I've never used an airbrush, although yeah, that's what everybody says, and they're right. First of all, I just haven't gotten an airbrush because I'm lazy, I suppose. And I don't have a properly ventilated area with which to do it.
Near the way, we just suffer.
Just
sometimes Dad will come in the basement.
We do have a basement that's isolated.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Sitting in the basement, you got your airbrush going. You stain painting the a few benches on the side, eating circus peanuts as fast as you can. It's the most gruesome tripping balls you could possibly do. I suppose it's good for painting Slanesh in a way.
We have a little airbrush light in the can that sucks stuff down, but it doesn't vent to outside because I refuse to cut a hole in the
cement,
the board or whatever, the baseboard. So I don't know what we want to. AOS champions.
Oh, that's right. How much time do we have? Probably probably not a lot.
Out of time.
Not a lot of time. I can do it this fast.
Okay.
Destruction is the best Grand Alliance. All right.
That's true. That's
good show. Good show, gentlemen.
Yeah. So, yeah. And
it's actually the opposite of the real game.
Yes, it's the opposite of the real game. Destruction is actually good in the card game. In fact, you're going to hear people talk about like, Destruction's just clearly the best. Nothing else is worth playing. They're mostly right. However, I think you really can be competitive with Chaos and Order. Your initial Your initial, what do you call it? Ideas about death were pretty much on point. It sucks. But I've found the game to be pretty balanced, I think. Except for specifically, I'm looking at the card now so that I can get its exact name so that everyone knows what to buy. It's like 15 cents, so no big deal.
Is it a champion or is it a
Champions come and go, but getting extra actions a turn, they're like diamonds. It's forever.
Was it the Wog Chanter?
Wog Chanter. Like, there's a Grot that does it too, but it doesn't give you one per corner. So it's a little fairer, although you can do the one guy to get it right away. But yeah, Wog Chanter, the fact that Destruction has access to 2 additional cards per turn means that it's simply too consistent. And you can sit there drawing cards and waiting for your opponent to overextend into a sweeping Gore Grunta plus Loudmouth Warboss to immediately use it and just sweep all his guys away, and now the card advantage is too high. Destruction is basically like tempo Delver in Magic, where you lay down a Delver, and then you just bury your opponent in card advantage, and
you just protect the Delver.
Nickel and diming them and making sure you have more cards than they do, and eventually you'll win. Because your quests are just easier to complete in Destruction for the most part than other factions.
We played
last night.
Yeah. So there was just
Chaos is a combo deck, which is cool.
There's 4 channels. Each champion has channels that they play in, and cards essentially rotate. And as they rotate, they do more damage. And so I'm trying to pull one up here. So they rotate in the corners. This is a unit, but it's got special rotate rules. Because it's not.
We're already kind of seeing a metagame evolve too, which is pretty cool. Early on in the app, you would have a lot of removing of enemy units.
You mean theoretically in the app, right? Theoretically in the app.
Look,
if you happen to be a bad
I'm not giving any extra information with this. You can experience this part of it if you play the card game, which you can right now.
Right.
So to say nothing of the functionality of the app or any of the information I may or may not know about it, all of this stuff is from actually playing the card game. So don't take my NDA. I haven't said anything bad. But, early on the meta is like, okay, well, your opponent's playing units, and a lot of times they don't do anything, and then they rotate, and they don't do anything. And then they rotate, and they do something big. And so this is like a Timmy trap. Like, this is terrible. Because you play it, nothing happens. Next turn, nothing happens. And your opponent finally gets around to just like, all right, it's gone. You wasted 2 turns, and nothing happened.
I talked to my dad about this. I was like, I'm not going to put anything in my deck that doesn't do anything the turn it comes into play.
And like the only reason you would is because it's an easy quest filler. So at least you can get something like that out of it.
Well,
and so
that's
people
why I
are like, oh, well, they just keep removing my units, so I'll use stuff that can't be removed. Because there's a bunch of cards that say your dudes can't be removed. And now people are,
the banner.
What? Yeah, but there's a dormant. Just turns off the.
Yeah, dude. What is the trampling?
Grunta.
That card is busted, man.
So good, especially
it's
with
like Boar Boss. Use the Boar Boss Grunta.
Super good. No, that's fine. And it turns out there are a lot of shield effects, so Rend becomes good. You weren't sure if you would have to use Rend or not, and for the most part, I think you can skip Rend. However, stuff like what do I use? I use 3 Arachnarok Spiders because you get to play it and then Loudmouth kick it right away, and it does 6 Rend damage, and so it's a nice little finisher spell to just lay down and kill somebody who thought they were safe because of a Mystic Shield or something like that.
Yep.
But anyway, long story short,
Mega Boss is good in that way too. But he's not the Mega Boss, the I guess the dragon or whatever it is.
Gordrak, Fist of
No, the other one.
Oh, the Maw Crusher.
It's a unit. Yeah, the Maw Crusher. That's only good with the Boar Boss though.
Yeah. The one where they can't deploy units.
No, where it just automatically rotates it for you.
Oh yeah.
Because then you're only on a
That's-
1 turn until you start doing rend, and then then they can't deploy units.
Mhm.
So you have a 1 turn investment.
Yeah, destruction is card advantage, combo damage. Chaos is combo, or super aggro.
Seems like order's kind of like just control deck. Like you just have like your big AoEs and card.
Order's-
Like you have like card advantage in Celestial Prime and Celestial Fate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you draw after you play, which
Yeah.
is rare. Which changes the game. It makes the game slower and more random. And so Celestial Prime gets to get around that because you get to look at 2, and you can just use that ability. So you get to kind of what do they call it? Card quality instead of card quantity necessarily.
Right.
And there's a bunch of dudes where your opponent can't deploy units, and so you're more control. And Death wants to be control and has some like reanimate kind of effects, but they're all mostly pretty bad. Yeah,
Right.
it's just not all there.
Anything that has a competitive thing that tries to gain life is bad. It's my
Generally speaking, yeah.
Soul Sisters bad.
It's more true in Magic than in this game.
What do you mean
Healing Salve.
You mean that you're wasting time trying to gain life?
Yeah.
No, it's just like a thing I've noticed. Well, yeah, I mean, like
it's true. It's a true statement that gaining life is generally bad, especially in Magic or something. And the reason is your life actually doesn't matter at all until you die.
Like, would you rather play Lightning Bolt or Healing Salve?
Yeah, Lightning Bolt, because you can kill somebody's creature. You can affect the game. When you start using your life as a resource, you realize how little healing actually matters. Where I'm like looking at my opponent and he's got like 2 creatures out. I'm like, I can take this hit. I'll just draw 2 cards. It's fine. Next turn I'll Gore Grunt to them, and they'll just all 3
like
of them
that
get
card.
wiped away.
There's
easy.
a Zinj card. It's like a heroic deck. You ping yourself for 2, add a card, add a demon from your discard into your hand.
Yeah.
Like, why would I not do that? I'm doing that until I'm dead.
Right.
That's the
You were playing it yesterday.
yeah, but it's the guy from Silver Tower.
Yeah, there's Gaunt Summoner.
Yeah. What's the spell? Oh, in Chaos. Where's the one? The one I think you could build a deck around.
Pain-Induced Fury?
Blood Sacrifice. When you receive damage from a highlighted ally, draw 1 card. You have a lot of self-damage, so you can draw a bunch of cards with that. And the way you kill people is with... Let me scroll down to it. Pain-Induced Fury.
Yeah.
When you receive damage from a highlighted ally, deal 2 damage to your opponent. You can damage yourself like 4 or 5 times a turn very easily in Chaos. And so if you get Pain-Induced Fury out, you can generally do about 20 damage to your opponent in 1 turn if you want. And it's a combo. It's like a combo deck. You're trying to draw the 1 card and do the big combo, which I think is kind of cool in a game like this, that there's still combos. Although it's...
no Channel Fireball.
It's no channel, and it's not consistent, but combo shouldn't be. Because if combo was consistent, it'd just be the best thing to be doing for the most part.
I think if a combo, if Order had better combos, I don't know, but because you have like Celestial Prime, if you can kind of scry, or whatever, kind of filter through your deck a little bit better, you can find the specific cards.
Yeah, I suspect in the next wave of champions, we'll see Destruction getting actually 0 cards that give them extra actions or draw cards, and
I can see that.
And Death will get a bunch.
They'll just get crappy stacking stuff.
Yeah, they'll get like more rend or something. Hey, stacking is cool. It allows you to, like, stacking itself isn't very good because you're sort of, it's like an enchantment in Magic. Now you have 2 cards that your opponent removes and gets you on card advantage.
Mm-hmm.
But what it lets Destruction do is complete all their quests way faster than they should. Because you can deploy a new unit on top of an old one and just be like, well, I had 3 things to go, but I guess this turn I just like complete the quest, and now you take 5 and all my guys move to the last row and you take another 14. And so that's...
I don't know. I find ourselves taking, what is the one where you can switch the lanes your...
Tactical formation.
Yep.
Play one of those in my deck just because...
Well, there's that reason of, your guy's got a bad matchup. He's got a guy against your mage that shuts down his spells. Or something.
That guy.
That guy. And then, but also it seems like it's what is it, an ability or whatever, which is going to click a hero, and yeah, click a champion, turn a champion, and stuff. I was messing with a demon deck, which is kind of interesting, and it had this. So it was
It's like sack a dude, go get a dude, right? It's kind of like a
you had
crappy birthing pot effect.
You had the summon demon spell, which basically is your wizard all of a sudden can deploy units into his thing. And so that was kind of interesting. And they had those, I guess, being a defensive type player, what was those screamers that actually have like 3 lanes they block with 1 damage on them?
Yeah, and they can double up if you lay them next to each other. So those are pretty.
Those
cool.
are actually pretty effective against this, like with the stuff without rend. Like it just was like, okay, I'm dealing nothing.
Yeah, and especially because what's his name can bring those back for 2 to life. For
yeah,
that's worth it.
Yeah,
that's super worth it.
You're preventing 3 damage, and you're getting a card, and
they're staying out for 3 turns. Those are pretty good. The complaint I suppose I have is spells. Wizards aren't good enough in the game. You can't use an ability when a spell is out for a wizard.
Yep.
And that means wizards suck on the face of it.
Oh,
there are some spells that are good.
An ability when a wizard's out.
That wizard can't use an ability. And there's a lot of abilities that are really good that you can only use with a wizard. And I'm like, okay. And this limits spellcasters a lot in the game, I think unfairly. I think they were concerned about wizards being too good maybe, and so they put that in there, but it generally means that most of the people I fight against don't use spells at all. And so, I mean, some do, right? But that's a minor quibble I think I have.
Yeah.
Also, the random blessing placement is a little annoying to me as somebody who likes to really like min-max stuff in cards.
I hate it.
You could really tactically put down your blessings to do combos and do interesting stuff, but instead you don't know what's there and your opponent doesn't know what's there. It seems like something they put in along with drawing at the end of your turn rather than the beginning to soften skill and let randomness just kind of help people win sometimes to keep the game a little casual.
I do like the draw at the end of the turn because it makes it sort of that action-based economy. I like the... although I guess you could...
I want to spend an action to draw it before I do other stuff, but maybe that's too good. I said I want to spend an action to draw when I just spent an action. That's what I want to do. And then like play stuff after I draw it. Obviously, they didn't want people's turns to last forever. So,
but see,
if you could spend an action to draw and then still play stuff afterwards, I don't think destruction turns would ever end. So maybe that's why they did that.
Oh yeah, I do an action to draw. I play it. Oh, I get an extra action.
Yeah, because a destruction deck is usually just like turn 1, I call out 2 guys to give me extra actions. And then draw a card, you go, and then next turn I have 5 actions. And so I just draw 5 cards and let you go. You play a dude that does 1 damage, okay. My turn, oh, I'm going to take 1 damage next turn, cool, I'll draw 2 cards. And then they finally play something like worth killing, and there's like 2 or 3 guys next to each other, alright. My turn, Gore Grunta, remove them both, or all 3, go. And they have like 1 card in their hand and I have 9, and the game's over. So...
Interesting.
Generally speaking, I think destruction's extra action card draw, remove 3 units and dormant some other ones and stuff is just a hair too consistent. And the fact that what you're trying to consistently do is draw cards means that it's a self-fulfilling engine when it starts up.
Now there's that 1 card, right, that damages somebody if they have more than 8 cards in their hand or something.
Yeah, but that spell that spell sucks real bad. It does 2 damage normally.
Yeah, I was like,
Brutal Smash.
Brutal Smash. Okay. Yeah, well.
That's like Hum of the Radix for the Magic players out there. In Mirrodin era, there was a deck known as Affinity that everyone hated. They used artifact lands, and it had like an 80% win rate if you ignore mirror matches. And they printed this card in 5th Dawn called Hum of the Radix. It's a green card for 4 that says stuff loses affinity for artifacts. Except it costs 4, which is the turn after which you normally die to affinity.
If you wanted to
so
beat
it doesn't
affinity,
do anything.
You played Astral Slide.
You played Astral Slide until it rotated out, and then you played Oxidizes and just prayed.
Yeah.
And so the 2 damage or 5 if your opponent's winning the hardest is a little too little too late, I think.
Well, I'm obviously not an MTG expert, and for proof of that, you could Google my name.
No, don't do it.
What?
Don't do that.
Don't do it.
I ended up playing Chris.
Don't do it.
You can Google DCI, people's DCI numbers and stuff, and look up like what level Archmage you are in the Wizards Sierra Portal, which is pretty hilarious. Like the ultimate nerdy thing to do.
Yeah. The short story is that I took Mark to a tournament, and I ended up getting randomly picked playing against Chris
Van Meter.
Chris Van Meter, yeah.
Yeah, and of course, I had no idea what I was doing, so looked like an idiot. So that's the.
I mean, he almost won. Mono blue.
Mono almost won, yeah. But I was slow playing, so that was the problem. People were like, this guy's an idiot.
I had a similar experience in GP Las Vegas 20 whatever, the first Modern Masters that ever came out. I day 2'd and then I won the first 8-person draft pod. So like there were so many people in there. You played in an 8-man draft pod, and then the first place person out of that draft pod is placed in another 8-man draft pod of only people who got first in those previous draft pods. And that's how they broke it down as you went up. And so I did pretty well and got up there. And then when I hit the wall, I ended up in a draft pod to the left of Huey Long or Huey Jensen and across from Reed Duke. And I'm like, I'm gonna get destroyed.
Two of the 3 Peach Garden Oath.
Yeah, and this was the year that Huey got into the Hall of Fame, actually. And I'm like, hey, congratulations. I hope you get into or good luck in the Hall of Fame run, I think is what I told him. And he's like, thanks, dude. And then, so I drafted what I thought was a pretty okay deck, but I'm like, oh man, somebody else is on white here, and this is going to be a problem. And I played against him in round 1, and he had exactly what I drafted, only better in every way. And I'm like, oh, geez, this is no good. This is real no good.
So, interesting. But so, destruction is the equivalent of red right now, right?
No, well,
actually, no, I don't think so. Like,
I don't think it's equivalent to anything.
Yeah, Mark made the good call last time, where he said it's a truth of Magic, and I think it applies to champions at least early on. When nobody knows what to do, red's the best. Just all-in aggro is the best thing to be doing, because other people are like trying to figure out what's going on, and you can just slide in and kill everybody before anything works out. And so when a new format comes around, red is always the best, but it isn't the best for very long. Eventually people figure out what's going on. And
you lose to every sideboard card ever most of the time.
Yeah. And then like the good strategies and the synergies and the combos start coming up, and then it becomes a metagame and so on and so forth. Early on, like during the Gen Con champs when it came out, there was a tournament, but I didn't enter it because I didn't have any cards yet. Right. I think Destruction won that one, but what is it? Khorne Chaos is very aggressive, and Destruction can be very aggressive. And so those were the 2 best things to be doing right away. I think people have mostly figured out what to do at this point. And Destruction isn't so much red aggro as it is like, it's blue-red burn.
Exactly.
Where you have Treasure Cruise, you have Delver, you got Price of Progress and stuff. So you have all the card draw, but then all the burn to just like kill people. And it's coming out to be like one of the better things to be doing. And well, it'll be interesting to see whether the card pool that we have now can deal with what Destruction's doing. And I think it probably can.
We just need some buy box promos.
Yeah, I mean, I made some. Yeah. What's that?
I'm just being an asshole about the Nexus of Fate.
Yeah, Nexus of Fate. That's right.
What's that? The Time Walk that was.
That's the Time Walk that I told you that's gonna suck, and now it's like $40 a card.
Well, it does suck, but it's one of those cards that's $40 in standard, and then it's $1 once it rotates.
Well, yeah, exactly.
And it's one of the cards that currently I'm selling, and then I'll be buying back for $1 when it rotates out of standard. Because you gotta make that. You gotta sell those cards. But
you bought M19, dude. You're crazy.
Well, that's one of the things I do. I buy and sell cards. So you gotta.
Okay. We can talk to you about after.
Sure. But anyway, no, I made some. I tried to build some lists that could deal with what destruction was doing. Like, I made lists that win with exhaust, pretty much. Like, run somebody out of cards because they can't actually deal enough damage to kill you.
Millstone.
Pretty much. Like, enough damage prevention and enough recursion that, and enough like pinpoint removal if you know exactly what your opponent's doing. The destruction lists can kill you, but if they're just kind of throwing their crap out there, they can really only do about 38, maybe 40 damage in the whole deck.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've made some order lists and even a death list or two that can largely live through that and just win when they run out of cards. But with a good hand, destruction will still kill you. And winning by basically going to time is the least fun thing for your opponent to have to experience. So I don't know if it's like a strategy I would recommend. It's interesting that it's kind of possible anyhow.
Wow. I'm only in the playing with it phase. I'm enjoying it. Casual wise, I think it's good.
Fun game. It's cool. For people at home who want to build a death list, and they're just like, everybody says death sucks, and so I'm motivated to try to make it good. Well, good on ya. And play with these. I'm looking up what the card is so that I can tell them what it is.
I'm also trying to figure.
Oh, that's right. I've clicked on champion by accident. That's the reason why. It's the one that gains you life and then draws you cards when it dies. Or not draws you cards, but gains you actions. Yeah, here we go. Feasting Vargeist. That's a good place to start. 3 of those, and then start figuring out what you want to do. But this is the card to start building a death list with.
Nagash is probably a trap.
Yeah, Nagash is a trap because you can't afford any other wizards.
Yeah.
And his ability isn't actually that good. Sadly.
So
unlike again, the opposite of real Age of Sigmar.
well, he was a
you're like
trap.
200 points. Nah, all your eggs are in one basket. That's no good. Well, these eggs are solid gold.
Now they have this. Shoot, what was I going to say? Mark, take it.
I don't know what you are going to say at all. I don't. I mean, I do, but I don't.
Right.
Did it have to do with the card game?
Yeah, it had to do with the card game. Well, I'll figure it out eventually.
Oh, long story short, it's a cool game. You guys should do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically.
I say the destruction's the best, and a lot of other people do. But you know what?
Prove us wrong.
It's
Yeah. That would be pleasantly cool. Like if it ends up being that destruction just sucks in 3 months because the metagame moved on, that's cool.
Also, there's something to be said for playing a rogue deck that no one knows what the hell is going on, and sometimes you just get free wins off of it.
Oh yeah, it's like Wanderers and Idoneth Deepkin in AOS, the proper game. Sylvaneth, Idoneth Deepkin, and Wanderers. The first time anyone plays against any of those armies, they typically just lose because you have so many weird stuff that nobody knows what's even going on, and you'll get them.
That was my.
So don't underestimate the power of not playing a net list. People aren't ready for it. I mean, why isn't Stormcast doing amazing right now? Even though Sequitors are so undercosted and Evocators are so undercosted and Deep Striking these units are so good and Comets are so good. Like, Stormcast isn't doing very well in the last 5 tournaments. Why? Because everyone's 110% ready for exactly what they're doing. And they're so known that you can prepare for it for the most part. And that's a strong thing. It's good to come out of left field. That's why Idoneth Deepkin, besides being amazing, that's one of the reasons why IDK has been doing pretty well. It's because the rules are weird and nobody knows what they can do yet. Same with Nighthaunt.
Yeah, I think the Nighthaunt is just going to be very strong.
Yeah, probably not as strong as Nagash featuring Nighthaunt, but it's very good.
Right.
It checks all the boxes of everything you want to be doing in the game. You want hordes, you want movement shenanigans, you want flying, you want a bunch of heroes that all matter in different ways, but there's like 5 of them in different places instead of 1 that you have to kill.
Right.
Your opponent's overpaying for every unit they run that's normally great because it has rend. Nope. You're wasting your points. And they can be scoring points while you're trying and failing to kill them. And if you snipe all their heroes, the wheels don't fall off, because by the time the game's over, you won't have dealt with everything and they'll win on points anyway. It's a good army. And if you bring your own gigantic terrain, you can get a sick advantage every turn.
What do you think?
What?
The coach, black coach for them? For the
I think that its base should be twice as big as it currently is.
Right.
Because it is the grossest offender of hanging over the base by such a huge amount, you almost can't play with the fucking
You need a proxy base for it.
Yeah. Dude, it sticks like if you
it sticks out a good inch or two.
On each side. The thing is like 3 inches over the edge of the base, maybe. Total.
Like your eels.
You push up one side of it, and that's totally unacceptable. I mean,
the eels are kind of like that too.
Yeah, eels are like that. Thunder tusks are like that, where you got to put models in between their horns when they're. Luckily, they die right away, so you don't have to suffer for that too long. But yeah, I mean, it's a cool model. It looks amazing. I just wish it had a proper sized base, and the AOS team reined in their. No, they don't have to rein in their stuff. Just give it like a base so that you can actually play the game with it. That's what
they have. It's like it probably didn't fit on the next biggest size base. Like it was too small.
I'll take something that looks too big, because then the game itself is fine because the bases are hitting each other and everything.
Right. Yeah.
The game should suffer.
So we have gone for 2 hours now. So
yeah, I'm surprised I didn't fall asleep.
Probably
just because it's so goddamn interesting, man.
This stuff is great. It is. I could keep talking all night, except I don't know if anybody would want to watch.
Mom would come in and slap you.
This would be
actually. She's probably asleep on the couch downstairs.
Oh, don't say this. You're gonna be in trouble because you know she watches it.
That's not true.
Hey, that's viewership.
Yeah. So
my mom doesn't watch my show.
That's rude.
Yeah. Well, my mom wouldn't know how to. But hey, Mark, we came up. Well, it's different side note. We'll just let that go. Anyway, so that's it for now, I think. You guys have any final notes you want to add before we just go off the cliff?
No.
Make Beast Claw great again.
Make Beast Claw great again. Joe, your show, you said you had some stuff coming up about like what army to run, what factions to run.
Oh yeah, I'm making a huge show which is taking forever, and it shouldn't have been a surprise that it's taking forever to me, but it was. So I'm like, I did one show specifically towards really new people thinking about getting into the game, and it was like 7 minutes long maybe, and it just talks about, the production triangle, fast, cheap, and good, what kind of hobby stuff you can consider getting, how to pick an army up, things like that. And it was very well received. And so I'm like, I'm going to do another thing for new players and answer the question I hear the most ever, which is, what army should I play? And so I'm like, I'm going to do a show where I go through every faction in the whole game and talk for a paragraph about their lore and their fluff, and then I talk about their play style on the table, and I do a difficulty to play, difficulty to build a list, pros and cons, competitiveness, what tier they are. And,
that sounds like a year of shows.
And do that for every faction, which is like 30 factions, I think. And I'm done with all of Order, and I'm done with all of Destruction, and I'm half done with Death. And, God, there's so much more to do still, because a lot of it is tricky, because, do you talk about Legions of Asgore? Probably, because they're a real army. Do you talk about, Tamarkan's Horde? Probably not. Same with Tomb Kings, although, sorry.
Wow. Banned from the show, says my dad.
Yeah. Well.
For new players getting into the game, that you don't want to become depressed as they learn new information.
Right.
That's true. Like, oh my God,
you don't want to set a trap for a new player. Like, a lot of new player advice in the community of this game is so mindlessly positive that I consider it to be toxic. Where they're just like, no, dude, make a, it's cool. Oh, you want to play pirates? There's an Order faction of elf pirates.
Yeah.
It's fine, man. It's awesome. Just do whatever you want. Just choose the coolest thing, and it's fine. Oh, are they pretty good? Yeah, man. Like, you just have to be a better general on the table, and you can achieve anything if you believe in yourself. With your dark water pirates or whatever the fuck.
Like Naruto, believe it.
Yeah, I'm like, look, there's being polite and there's being welcoming, and then there's like sabotaging someone so that 6 months later a bomb of depression explodes when they realize their army that they made is so bad that it can't even win like casual games. And a lot of times even the play style. You know, people are like, ooh, corn, I want to just run up and smash. And they don't know that the play style of corn is actually extremely difficult and more like playing chess with Venn diagrams of random overlapping buffs than it is just running up and smashing. And so you want a play style that'll fit your personality just as much as you want an army that you think looks good. And so I'm doing this, in long story short. And if people like it, then I'll do a lore thing. And I'll do some other parody opening of 2+ Tough probably, because it's going to be the lore show.
Right.
Where I do like a drunk history of Age of Sigmar, like through the Age of Myth and all the rest, and I think that should be pretty fun. We'll see.
Okay.
I guess those are the shows that are coming.
We clearly need to get an opening, Dad, so he can parody us.
Yeah, I was going to parody you a few times.
We don't have an opening.
But you don't have an opening, and I don't have any like anime Hawaiian shirts to wear. Spider-Man stuff in the background, you know? So
by the way.
Oh yeah, there you go, yeah. All right, it's not anime, I guess it's Spider-Man.
Yeah, come on, man.
So yeah.
Yeah,
but, you know, I built a fake nose to pretend I was Rob Steins, and I really drove in the car to riff on Radio Free Hammer Hall. So I suppose a few props aren't too out of the way, right?
Right. So, well, yeah, looking forward to those shows, and seeing. I know you always have a lot of good insight compared to me, where I just like, oh, let's just roll some stuff out there and see what happens. So
well, there's a place for everything. I like to think that I at least explain myself. You can disagree, but I at least try to explain my position. That's, I suppose, all you can hope for.
Right.
And I do corrections when I'm wrong, which happens from time to time.
Yeah, for me, about every time I play. So, I guess we'll call it a night now, everybody. Thanks for sticking around watching.
Yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for having me on your show. Good time.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
We I don't know, I say this every time should have said this at the beginning. If you like the show, please subscribe, hit the bell,
like, share, subscribe.
Smash that subscribe button.
Smash that like button. If this video gets 50,000 likes, I will eat my toe.
As soon as we get 100,000 subscribers, my grandmother will no longer have cancer. Like, exactly. If you agree, 90% of people won't agree.
1 like equals 1 prayer.
1 like equals 1 prayer. Yeah. Yeah, those thoughts and prayers are doing a lot of work.
So, all right. So we'll end it with maybe we should start shows earlier and not be so zany at the end. Or when Mark's not getting up at 5 in the morning and stuff.
All right.
All right. So we'll call it a day, call it a night here, a show. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Yeah.